Hey there guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I appreciate you being here as we sit back, relax and talk a little bit about Avatar The Last Airbender, which has just dropped on Netflix, the live action adaptation version of the classic anime show. So we're going to jump into this article here from Comic Flick News. We're going to go down and we're going to have a read of some of these reviews and see what they're saying about the live action version of Avatar The Last Airbender. So let's go down. So, Avatar The Last Airbender reviews give mixed reactions. So guys, to save time, we're going to cut out some of the article that's not that important. But if you feel like you want to read the entire article for yourself, go to comicflicknews.com and you'll find it on the front page, this whole entire article. But we're going to jump straight into the reviews here, and we're going to read a little bit about the Rotten Tomatoes score. Then we're going to go down and read the individual reviews for the Avatar show itself. So let's get straight to it. So here it says the Rotten Tomatoes score is currently standing at a rotten 58% based on 40 reviews. Guys, I just double checked the Rotten Tomatoes website and the review has now gone up to 60%, which technically turns the show from a rotten rating, a splattered tomato, into a fresh rating, which is absolutely great. I believe 60 is the threshold. Once it gets to 60 and above, it becomes fresh. So that's great to hear. The review has gone up by 2%. But this figure may evolve in the coming days. Below, we've compiled a selection of Avatar The Last Airbender reviews for you to explore. Yeah, so guys, we have a bunch of reviews here. Each section talks a little bit about different aspects of the show and kind of reviews that certain angle of the show. So we're going to go down. We're going to read 2 reviews from each section because there's too many reviews to read. We'd be here all day otherwise. But it gives us a great kind of look at what the reviews are saying about different parts of the show, which gives us, a great overall kind of look at what people are saying. So, how does it compare to the anime show? So, it's an earnest and admirable attempt to reignite the original's magic. That's from Zaki Hassan from San Francisco Chronicle. So, it does an admirable job to reignite the original's magic, which is great to hear. When it says it does an admirable attempt, that means that I'm guessing that it did a great job, but it wasn't quite up to the original's magic, which is never going to be. The original's always going to be, that kind of standard that everybody looks for. And it's near on impossible to get back to what that original was. And live action is a different medium, but still, it's great to hear. So, from James Marsh, the South China Morning Post, fans can do little airbending of their own and breathe a huge collective sigh of relief, as Netflix's live-action adaptation of the beloved animated series is a rollicking, fantastical ride that definitely reimagines what made the original show so special. So again, that's great to hear. These are 2 positive reviews that we're hearing so far when, talking about the original animated show. So, beloved animated series, rollicking, fantastical ride, which is great to hear. Definitely reimagines what made the original show so special. Yeah, so there's parts in here that are different from the animated show, but it reimagines what made it so special. But it's great reviews. These are 2 good reviews to start off with. Not saying the best things in the world, but still, it's more in the positive direction, which is great to hear. And that's about how it compares to the anime show. So let's go down. So how are the visual effects and action sequences? So this comes from May Abdulbaki from Screen Rant. Where the live action series falters a bit is in its special effects, which can fluctuate depending on the episode. Some of the visuals are shaky and don't look as crisp as they ought to. Luckily, this is the only case in certain instances, especially at the start, and is never enough to derail the show. Yeah, that's absolutely great to hear. When you're working on a TV show, there's massive budget constraints about, how much CGI they're going to use in each episode. Each episode has got its own budget. And, I'm assuming that different effects studios worked on different shots. And that's probably why there's such a fluctuation in different CGI throughout the show, because one studio probably worked on like fire effects, whereas one studio may have worked on the water effects. So, different studios working on different CGI shots, that may be the reason for the fluctuation. But luckily, it's only the case in certain instances, especially the start, and it doesn't derail the show. When you have CGI that's real bad and it takes you out of the show, then that's just not good at all. But when you've got CGI that doesn't derail the show, that's a great thing to hear. So, from Theris Laxon from the Collider, specifically water and airbending don't feel as natural on screen. In flights between waterbenders, the scenes don't mesh well together, with the water effects looking unrealistic. By trying to mimic the style seen in the animated show, the seams are showing between the actors and the special effects. Airbending done primarily by Aang, lacks the magnitude it should have. See, that's a really, really bad sign, because, you know, airbending obviously is called The Last Airbender. The whole show is built around that concept of airbending. And if the water effects are not looking good and the airbending itself as an effect is kind of, you know, taking you out of the show, and the special effect is not looking good with the actors, you know, trying to do the moves behind the effects, then that's really, really not good. But again, it's not saying that it's like the worst show in the world. It's not giving it praise either. It's kind of in the middle. So it's saying, you know, airbending doesn't look natural on screen compared to the animated show, but obviously two different mediums. Trying to animate water and fire and things like that are some of the hardest things you can possibly, you know, imagine, because there's so many particles that are moving, and trying to animate that, you know, with all the increasing technology that we have, trying to animate water and fire is still the two of the hardest elements to do. And you know, so it is what it is. So from Anita Singh from the Daily Telegraph UK, it's a solid entertainment, fast moving, action packed with decent fight scenes and some appealing performances, all done on a generous Netflix budget. Like I say, it's a TV show. There's, you know, constraints in the budget, but solid entertainment, fast moving, action packed, decent fight scenes. I mean, what more could you want? I mean, that sounds great to me. This sounds like a really positive review, and that's something that I like to hear. Fast moving, action packed, decent fight scenes. I mean, that sounds great, but the review that we just read above saying that the airbending effects are not looking good, especially when you compare it, you know, with the actors in the scenes, then you know, it's too kind of yeah, it's really, really not good to juxtapose it against, you know, action-packed scenes. But yeah, so that's one kind of negative, one little bit positive. So how is the writing and directing? So from Therese Laxon again from the Collider, it's 8 episodes hit the big highlights of the original show, but miss all the small detail that makes those scenes soar. While the new series starts strong, the cracks begin to show once it starts trying to braid together different storylines. So maybe it does a little bit too much for its own good. It tries to have all these subplots and it kind of tries to draw these storylines together. And maybe it just kind of got ahead of itself a little bit. Maybe for the first season, if they're doing multiple seasons, I'm not really sure at this point. But maybe they should have kind of kept the premise simple rather than having too many storylines. Because like it says here, it starts to, you know, the cracks start to show when it becomes a bit convoluted. And that could possibly be its downfall, you know, as the season goes on. So from Charles Pulliam Moore, The Verge, even with each of the 8 episodes clocking in at an hour each, it would have been difficult for Netflix's Avatar to hit all of the same beats as the lengthier cartoon. Exactly, the cartoon, like how many episodes does the cartoon have? Probably ridiculous amounts, I would imagine. It's got more, you know, it's got more room to breathe and, you know, all this kind of stuff. The live action Avatar film tried to deal with this challenge by distilling its plot down, and in doing so stripped away a lot of the narrative that helped make the original feel so expertly developed. Yeah, that's the difference between, you know, doing a live action and an animated, you know, anime show. Anime shows, you know, shows like One Piece, they have hundreds and hundreds of episodes. You know, some episodes are just characters, you know, standing around talking and nothing's happening. They're just fleshing out the characters. They got all the time in the world to tell all the stories that they want. Whereas, you know, if you've got 8 episodes of a live action TV show like this, you've got to get to the point. You got to get to the plot quickly. You got to get to the point quickly, I was going to say, but I kind of mixed those two phrases together. You've got to get to the plot quickly. You've got to, you know, you've got to do it in an interesting way. There's certain things from the anime show, as I say, that don't translate. So you've got to cut them out. You've got to choose what to keep, what to cut. And it's not an easy job, you know, translating one medium to the other. So I can understand this review here. So let's go down. What about the production quality and world building? So these are two of the biggest things, you know, here. You know, world building is what we want in this kind of TV show. So given the number of different locations in Avatar's story takes its characters, it makes sense that Netflix would try to keep the cost down by digitally constructing more fantastical places. But there is so much unnatural lighting and so many scenes where things in the background move with uncanny swiftness that the show immediately feels like yet another Netflix branded live action cartoon that would have been better served by more practicality. Yeah, I guess that comes down to, you know, having the studios to build physical sets. You have to employ a whole different division of people to build a lot of massive practical sets and stuff. And if you've already got CGI artists, you know, working for you, to have them to build the sets in the background digitally, I kind of get that. But at the same time, with cost restraints, time restraints, working on a TV show with a smaller budget, I get that some of the CGI can look a little bit janky, but as one of the reviews we already said, it's not bad enough to take us out of the show. So, it's something that we can forgive, I think. So from Campbell, Empire Magazine, sorry if I butchered that name. The camera work and lighting missed the flair of the animation, with potential exciting set pieces made unintelligible purely by how dark they are. That's not good. Every now and then, it touches on some genuine grandeur through depictions of sheer scale in its physical sets and rendered settings, but there's more often a disconnect between person and place, which frequently dampens the show's impact. So there's a disconnect between the person who's on screen and then like the set that's going on. Kind of similar to what we just read in the last review, actually, where they're saying that, the digital sets are kind of a bit strange. Here it says that, they're dark, the sets are dark, which isn't good. You don't want stuff on screen to be too dark that you can't make out details and it looks a bit weird. But more often than there's a disconnect between person and place. That's not good. So, like, you have a person on screen, a physical person, but you have a CGI background, and it doesn't look as though they're there. It doesn't look as though they're sort of like part of the same kind of world. It looks like they're two different kind of planes of existence, kind of interacting individually, which is kind of strange. I've seen that in some low-budget films, and it does pull you out of it a little bit, I have to admit. So, how is the cast? So, Komiya is everything Aang should be, kind, trusting, and always willing to see the best in others. Kaiwen Tio, I'm sorry if I butchered that, as Katara, is generally lovely, especially as she gains more confidence in her waterbending abilities in the second half of the show. Ulsly Sokka is good for a laugh, though not everything lands while showcasing his insecurities. So, they're saying that, the two main characters are quite good, Katara and Aang, and Ulsly's Sokka, I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names, I'm really not good at them, is good for a laugh, though not everything lands. So, some of the comedic timing, doesn't always land, but it's really hard to write comedy in this day and age. There's, so much, comedy's really hard to get right because audiences find different things funny, so it's hard to write a joke that kind of lands for everybody. It's not going to land for everybody. Something you find funny, I might not find funny, and vice versa, so it's a little bit difficult when it comes to humor, while showcasing his insecurities. Okay. And that comes from May Abdul Baki from Screen Rant. Sorry again if I'm butchering the name. So from Therese Laxon from Collider. The major challenge for Ulsly as Sokka is translating animation humor into live action. Yeah, the humor in anime and then the humor in live action is two completely different ends of the spectrum. Like, humor in anime tends to be a little bit more childish, I find. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it's still funny, but that kind of humor that you try to put into a Western live action show doesn't always work, if you get what I mean. Exaggerated jokes from the original show can't be transferred over without adjustments. Like I was saying, anime jokes don't always work in live action, especially for Western audiences as well. And sometimes the Netflix adaptation gets it very wrong, but Ulsly plays Sokka's comedic scenes with a bit of dry humor and sarcasm that take the edge off. So, there's some hit and miss comedic moments here from the, the comedic character of Sokka. But, it says here, with dry humor and sarcasm, it takes the edge off. So, the jokes don't always land, but he does it in a way where, we can forgive it because it takes the edge off with the funny, dry humor and the sarcasm that comes with it, which is a good thing to hear. So, and final thoughts. So, this comes from Elijah Gonzalez from Paste Magazine. So in short, although Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender can't fully capture the magic of its predecessor and falls into some of the pitfalls alluded to by the previously mentioned promotional soundbites, it still captures enough of the impact and gravitas of what came before to make this retelling land. So it sounds like it's not the best thing in the world, it's not as good as the anime show, which we keep hearing, but it never is going to be to live up to that standard, and it's a different medium, so trying to live up to it is near enough impossible in a live action. But it says that, it captures enough of the impact of what the anime show did, and it's worth watching, it's worth making, and, we need to see if enough people enjoy it to get a second season. And let's choose a bigger review rather than that one. So from Joshua Ye, IGN Movies, the amount of unconvincing special effects, that's another thing that we've already heard. The special effects are unconvincing. We already read that in a previous review. So, clunky moments of exposition, and its rush to cover so much story in just 8 episodes is not insignificant. Again, 8 episodes and then a whole anime, like, I don't know how many episodes the show's got on the anime side, but it must have, I would imagine it's got loads and loads and loads. Anime shows normally do. But even their powers combined don't outweigh everything this Last Airbender gets right. Above all else, it has its heart in the right place, and for Team Avatar, that's what matters the most. So it's got heart, but the CGI isn't always the best from what I'm hearing. Sometimes the special effects are a little bit janky. It's not as good as what we got in the anime show. But at the end of the day, it's still got heart, it's still got charm, it's still got flair, and people are still enjoying it. It's not the best thing ever, it's not the worst thing ever, but it's somewhere sat in the middle. And with a second season, they could always improve. So let's take that on board. So 59%, obviously it's at 60 now because I just checked it a minute ago. Premieres on Thursday, which was yesterday. So the show is already out, guys, if you want to watch it. What are your thoughts on the Netflix's live action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender? Have you watched it yet? If so, what did you think? If not, are you planning to give it a try despite the mixed reviews? We'd love to hear your opinion in the comments and what you have to say about the show. Yeah, guys, so that's just some of the reviews there of different aspects of the show and what they think. So what I can gather from this is, like I already said, the CGI isn't the best. Some of the effects look a little bit janky, but overall, the show has heart, it has charm. The humor doesn't land as well, but it's not going to live up to the original anime, so don't expect it to. But it's good enough to watch. It's a great attempt at what made the anime so great in the first place, and they've always got room to improve with subsequent seasons. So I'm looking forward to what they do with it, and hopefully they can improve as they go on. And I think it's worth a watch, guys, if you're interested in this anime show. So guys, jump into the comment section. Let me know what you think. Have you watched the show? What did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What was your favorite parts? What did you hate? Let me know all your thoughts, comments, and opinions. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you.